Hey everybody, I'm Anna McEwen. And now for Bob Switzer with the epic narrative.
What is going on out here? We are in another book, but we're still in the same season. Yep, I don't know. I did at one time. At one time, I thought we would just do, quote, a season on every book, right? So, I don't know. I learned a lot from doing this over time, but it just works out better, I think, to do about 40 40 episodes in a season, and this just worked out really well. It looks like it's going to be right around 40 again. We'll have Joshua, Judges, and Ruth. And then we're going to do a reboot on 1st and 2nd Samuel, which I know is over 40 episodes, but I mean, come on, that is an epic story. But we're going to do it a little different, and we're going to leave season 1 where it is because it is its own awesome thing. I learned a lot, and I think the reboot will be fun. It'll be, even if you've already listened to season 1, maybe a couple times, I think you will enjoy the reboot next season. But that's a ways away. Currently, we just started the Book of Judges. Now, the Book of Judges does have some discrepancies. There is debate about the timing and timeline of the Book of Judges because there's no real timeline markers until you get to it's actually in Kings, where I think they kind of lay out when Samuel was around, when Saul was around, when David was around, and then you add the people math people love this stuff. They get it all down. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, feel free to read up on it. It is fascinating to me, but I don't really get into it. Like, I just see it and I'm like, all right, so there is discrepancies. There's pretty good reasons for this, this thought process and that thought process. But even so, that's fine. And there's even some discrepancies here in chapter 1. In chapter 1, it starts out with after the death of Joshua, the Israelites asked the Lord, who of us is to go first to fight against the Canaanites? And the Lord answered, Judah shall go up. I have given the land into their hands. The men of Judah then said to the Simeonites, their fellow Israelites, come up with us into the territory allotted to us to fight against the Canaanites. We in turn will go with you into yours. So the Simeonites went up with them, and when Judah attacked, the Lord gave the Canaanites and the Perizzites into the hands of them, and they struck down 10,000 men at Bezek. And it'll continue, but basically, there are those who believe that this series of battles in chapter 1 has already been covered in Joshua. I think it's 9 through 11. So then it's like, all right, so when is this a recount of the battles, particularly that Judah fought? Or, is it kind of a combination of where, like, Joshua's dead now? So it is just they're reiterating that there were still battles to be fought. Caleb was fighting battles. Judah was considered the lead warrior tribe, you could say. The warrior tribes that came over, half tribe of Manasseh, Gad, and Reubenites, they're gone. So Israel's kind of in a state of who's in charge, right? They're used to a hierarchy. They're used to being able to go to Joshua, and now they don't know who to go to. So they go to God. They're like, so who's the leader? I do, it's not bad to go to God when you got nowhere else to go. I know that there were sometimes in my life where I took it as a bad thing. And I'm sure that there's others who maybe feel the same way, where your life is just falling apart and you think, I can't go to God now. Like I should have went to him. I should have went to him a while ago. And I thought I had everything under control, and I thought I thought I knew what I was doing, and I thought I knew where I was going. And now all of a sudden I've got nowhere to go. I've got everything's out of control, and my life's a mess. And now I'm going to go to him and be like, hey, can you help me out? And so I do understand that thought. I do. But it's not bad. It's never bad to go to God. And again, some of that has to do with your perception of God. And if he's a master that you have to keep happy in order to keep from dying or getting something bad done to you, then yeah, you're going to avoid going to him when your life's going crazy, because you can't just keep showing up begging for things. But if he's a good God who loves you and his goodness is always there for you, and there's nothing you can do to ever have him leave you, then he already knows. So you might as well go to him and say, hey, look at what I've done. And he'll be like, I know, I was here for it, but look at what I can do. Look at the goodness I got for you. And honestly, currently in my life, that's what I depend on. I had another conversation with him today about it. He is good to me, and there's no way around it. But I know that he has promised more, and that hasn't showed up yet. So we have a little conversation. I'm grateful, and I remain grateful, and I remain happy and joy-filled and filled with hope. But I'm also honest with him, and he's fine with that. We're good. All right. Sorry. So Judah was chosen to be the lead in war. They basically, you just get a list of things here. They basically chased the Canaanites all around, and they won a lot of battles. There's no way around that. But they never drove them out completely, and I think that is part of what we're supposed to see in the book of Judges. I don't think you got to remember, things are written so stories could be told in the Bible, so that the oral traditions could be espoused, and the things that are written are things that you're not supposed to forget, the stuff that you really got to make sure you cover. And one of those things is this pattern where they don't completely drive out the enemy. Now, do I think it was supposed to be done through military means? No, because this is what will happen. There will always be survivors. There will always be those who run away and then come back. It's never a complete success. I'm not saying you don't win, you win, but it's never a complete wipeout. And God wanted and called Moses to annihilate, and that is to completely take over the culture, so that everything that was in their past would eventually become forgotten. And the only thing that they'd be focused on is the goodness and love of God, and the kingdom of heaven would be here on earth. But they didn't do that. So what they chose, they did. It is kind of funny. Verse 5 is where I stopped. And it was there that they found Adoni-Bezek and fought against him. They putting a rout to the Canaanites. In verse 6, Adoni-Bezek fled, but they chased him and caught him and cut off his thumbs and big toes, which is just weird, I guess. But then you read that Adoni-Bezek said, well, 70 kings with their thumbs and toes cut off have picked up scraps under my table. Now God has paid me back for what I did to them, and they brought him to Jerusalem, and he died there. The men of Judah attacked Jerusalem also and took it and put the city to the sword and set it on fire. And after that, Judah went down to fight against the Canaanites living in the hill country. And they advanced against the Canaanites living in the hill country. And they go through a list of those things. And Caleb, verse 12, he was like, I will give my daughter in marriage to the man who attacks and captures this place called Kerith Sephar. And Othniel, son of Kezak, Caleb's younger brother, took it. So Caleb gave his daughter in marriage to him. So I know there's a lot being covered there. So this king, evidently Bezek, he had a pattern where whenever he defeated whoever, right, he'd cut off their thumbs and their big toes, which, of course, if you try to pick up things without your thumb, it's very difficult. And if you try to balance yourself especially without your big toe, it's also very difficult. It's tough to like squat down and not fall over, or it's fascinating how the foot works. And trust me, if you hurt your foot, it takes a long time to heal. I mean, you can sprain your ankle, right? And I've done that a few times, and you can start to run, you can kind of figure out life in a straight line. You might not be able to move back and forth, but you tear some tendons in your foot or break, a bone and tear some tendons in your foot, it is months and months before it's better. And even then, when it's better, your foot's weak. And then you have to work it out. I know this from experience. You have to work it out, and it's difficult. It's bizarre. I remember the first time, like, I tried to stand on my toes after, quote, my foot was better, but it still ached all the time, and it was because it was weak. And so, they were like, well, walk on your heels, walk on your toes. And I tried walking on my toe, and it was done. Like, I just collapsed. My foot did not have the strength to walk on my toe. So anyways, it takes a while. So this guy would cut off their toes and their fingers, and then he would make them pick up the table scraps under his table. So he would have banquets, and then in would come the kings, now servants or slaves in his palace, and they would have to pick up all the scraps without thumbs and without toes. So they would be, I don't know, kind of always out of balance, kind of tipping over, needing help, and then they'd have to be picking things up. It was, anyways, he embarrassed them, and he looked at it like, well, this is payback. You reap what you sow, and now I don't have my toes and fingers. Anyways. And then Caleb is evidently having some trouble with a particular area. And he's like, all right, whoever conquers this area gets my daughter. Now, remember, Caleb's 100 something years old as well. And he's still out here fighting. And evidently he's still making babies. So he has a young daughter, and he's like, I'll give her away in marriage to whoever beats these guys. And so Caleb's brother, let's see, let's make sure we get this right. Caleb's younger brother took the city, so Caleb gave his daughter to him in marriage. So Caleb's brother, how old is this guy? I'm sorry. Like, I know marriage is cultural, and I know Americans, I mean, that's where I grew up. Like, I know Western culture has some things that the rest of the world looks at and goes, really? Like, you do that for a wedding, or you do that for marriage? But one of the things that we don't do, generally speaking, here in America is have this huge difference between the bride and the groom. Now, I'm not saying it never happens. I know it happens. I know. But generally speaking, we don't. But in the Middle East and some Central American countries, it is not a weird thing. Matter of fact, they look for it. They want an older man to marry their daughter because he's established and generally can provide without an issue. But some of them get really extreme, and that's, I'm not comfortable with it. Just not comfortable with it. All right, moving on. Enough cultural conversation. So they go through a list of other places. The Lord, verse 18, the Lord was with the men of Judah. They took possession of the hill country, but they were unable to drive out the people from the plains because they had chariots fitted with iron. As Moses had promised, Hebron was given to Caleb, who drove out the three sons of Anak. most believe those guys were giants. 21, the Benjamites, however, did not drive out the Jebusites who were living in Jerusalem. And to this day, the Jebusites live there with the Benjamites. Now the tribes of Joseph attacked Bethel, and the Lord was with them. And they sent men up to spy out Bethel. And the spies came back and they said, show us how to get into your city and we'll see that you are treated well. So they showed him, and they put the whole city to the sword and spared the men who had and his family. And they continued to drive these people out. Anyways, I wanted to stop there. Now, Jerusalem, if you remember a few verses ago, supposedly that was taken and burned, which might have been true, but they didn't maintain the city, and Jebusites moved in. And the Benjamites, tribe of Benjamin, tribe of David, they took over Jerusalem, but they didn't take it over militarily. They basically probably moved into a section of the city, and they coexisted with the Jebusites. And the Jebusites maintained Jerusalem all the way until David becomes king. And even then, it was 7 years after he was king before he took the city. Or something. I believe it was 7. Anyways, all throughout the reign of Saul, for those 40 years, it belonged to someone else. When David kills Goliath, he cuts off the head of Goliath, right? And he walks it 10 miles to the gate of Jerusalem, and he throws the head of Goliath down at the city gate, and then he turns around and walks back 10 more miles. That's 20 miles in a day. That's no small deal. And if you remember, and again, we'll cover it again next season, but if you remember, they did not touch Goliath's tent and all of his clothes and his sword and all that. They left all that for David. David had been gone for a while. And why did he take it to Jerusalem? It's because Jerusalem, I believe you'll see it early on in his writings before he was even anointed, before he was king. He saw Jerusalem. He believed that Jerusalem was going to be the capital city of the nation of Israel, and it wasn't. And I believe he went there to basically say, I'm coming for you. You're a marked city. Someday you're going to belong to the quote, the nation of God. What do I want to say? The people of God, the chosen people of God. Anyways, it's just an interesting thing. Jerusalem has a massive history of being taken and not being taken and being destroyed and almost destroyed and burned and rebuilt. I mean, not only during this time period, right? All throughout the Middle Ages. I mean, oh, good grief. The whole thing. Anyways, Jerusalem's a fascinating city. If you just want to read crazy archaeology stuff, that's a great thing. Then I wanted you to see this in verse 28. When Israel became strong, they pressed the Canaanites into forced labor, but never drove them out completely. So evidently, Israel would force slavery and servitude from the Canaanites in order to avoid death. So when they're strong enough to take the Canaanites, there would be treaties made. And then evidently it would switch back. Canaanites would become strong, and they would do some battle, and then they would, work out another deal. So when Israel was strong, it would rule, and when it was not strong, things would change. It kind of reminds me of the what do they call them? The narcos down in the Mexican cartels and the South American cartels. It's like you rule an area. It becomes your area until you can't protect it, until the edges start to become blurred and there's fighting along the border, so to speak. And then all of a sudden you don't operate out of there. And now you have to regroup and rebuild and put things together. And eventually you rule it again. But that's kind of what went on back and forth here. They were, we see it again. Sorry, I'm scanning. In verse 35, the Amorites were determined also to hold out in Mount Heres and others. But the power of the tribes of Joseph increased, and they too were pressed into forced labor. So it was evidently a common event, rather than completely wiping them out and committing, in genocide. They would do battle and then come up with some sort of agreement for forced labor by the people that were left over. Again, was this the plan of God? No. Was it the plan of Moses? Actually, no. Moses and Joseph would have said, wipe them out, take them all out, don't stop killing. But Joshua, sorry, did I say Joseph? Anyways, Joshua's plan, keep wiping them out. So here we are, right? Joshua's gone, Moses is gone, been gone for a while, and the people, the community of people, are starting to do things differently, and it does cause trouble. It does cause trouble. You got verse 1 of chapter 2. The angel of the Lord went up from Gilgal to Bochum and said, I brought you up out of Egypt, led you here into the land, and I swore to give to your ancestors, and I said I will never break my covenant with you, and you shall not make a covenant with the people of this land, but you shall break down their altars, yet you have disobeyed me. Why have you done this? And they said, wow, and I also said, I will not drive them out before you. They will become traps for you, and their gods will become snares for you. And the angel of the Lord had spoken these things to all the Israelites. The people wept aloud. They called the place Bochim, and there they offered sacrifices to the Lord. So here you have basically a reminder, a callback. Like the Lord's like, hey, I don't break my covenant, but you've broken yours, which is, I guess at some level, the Lord's probably like, not that was a surprise to me, which is why I don't break mine. But you get a callback, right? You get a reminder that you reap what you sow. You guys, you sowed all these seeds of war and conflict and compromise and contracts and figuring things out, rather than having the strength and the ability to shift the culture of the land that you were moving into. And in the end, sin always brings death. And many of you have died because you've continued to do war, and you've also let their gods in, and you've also let their culture in, and you've also intermarried, and you're setting yourself up. You're opening yourself up for sin to do what sin loves to do, which is kill, steal, and destroy. Now, why did they, choose warfare and land acquisition over cultural influence through relationship? Why do that? I think it's a fair question, so I'm asking it. And what I came up with was this: warfare feels right. And I've got a lot of examples, so bear with me. Warfare feels right because, right, you're doing something. You're putting up a battle plan. You're executing the battle plan. You're recovering from the battle plan. You're regrouping from the battle plan. You've always got something to do when you're at warfare. You've always got people to talk to and strategies to download and blueprints to figure out. And then you acquire the blessings. Others would call it plunder, but you conquer something. You do. I mean, like it's not like it doesn't work. It does. You win something. You've sensed the shift. This, the whatever. I'm trying to avoid going to specific examples, but in battle, you win a battle. You get to keep what you won, and you feel that, and you are able to go to God and say, "Look at the blessings you've bestowed on us." You can see the results. I guess is another thing, right? Now, in some cases, it's dead bodies, which is a horrible thing, but generally speaking, right? That's one of the ways you're winning. You look around, it's like, wow, all the bad guys are dead, or at least we don't know. Some of these battles are not between bad guys. They're just between people who disagree with one another. But you look around and you say, look at, we won. We won. We did battle and we won. We argued and they couldn't argue back. We won. We stormed, whatever. We protested. We got the laws changed. We won. And you feel victorious. And man, that is an addictive thing. I love winning. Who doesn't? I love winning. And I remember winning as, on the soccer field, winning on the basketball court, winning and in a track meet. It's a fascinating thing, and you want more of it, and it makes you work harder. But if you don't win, right, you feel wounded. You feel wounded, and you're able to talk with one another and be like, "Oh man, look what happened! Look what the enemy did to me. I've got to recover. I got to back out for a little while. I have to go to healing. I feel defeated and destroyed." But when you win, other people are wounded and the enemy is defeated and destroyed. And it gives you purpose and drive and identity and focus. Now all your decisions are around the idea of battle plans and where the next enemy is. And you get all the logistics. I will get specific. All the logistics of decision making is around the battle. So I'll just apply this to church. I know I couldn't go. I couldn't say. I hope I stayed general enough for you guys just to be able to apply it to a lot of things for yourselves. But I wanted to apply it to church because we do this same thing within the church, right? We look for enemies to defeat, and they could be political enemies. They could be denominational enemies. They could be theological enemies. They could be cultural enemies. We look for them. And it gives us all those things. It's like, yes, we have an enemy. They're in our sights. Yes, we have purpose now. Yes, we can do something. What should we do? Yes, let's have the let's have the prophets of God talk to God and get a battle plan. And then we pull in the resources to do battle. We need more money. We need more time. We need you to serve more. We've got battles going on. We've got victories being won. And now logistically, we have more people coming. We have more people on our side. We got to take care of them. We need whatever, right? And then you find others to join your cause. Just like Judah here, right? He reached out to the Simeonites. Hey, you join us in our battles. We'll join you in your battles and we'll conquer this land together. And it's I don't know if it's addicting, but because it gives you purpose and identity and drive and focus, you actually don't have to do any spiritual work on yourself. You don't have to find spiritual purpose and drive and focus because you've got it all going on. You've got things to do. You've got places to be. And it continues like that. And I know people that have, be nice. All right. I am confident that there are those who have gone through their entire Christian lives without actually knowing what they were designed for because the culture that was around them was a culture of battles. And they would fight and they would earn money and they would serve and they would give and they would do everything they could to win the battles, and they won the battles. But then, right, and then whoever was the leader would say, "Oh, look, there's a new enemy. We need to go conquer that one." And basically, you were in churches that maybe you weren't, but there are many churches and ministries that have grown and expanded on the mere fact that they're always able to find the next army to go after, the next enemy, the next little green Martian that needs to be wiped out. And at some level, we do the same thing in spiritual warfare. We call it warfare. And we study the enemy, and we gather intel on the enemy, and we figure out their ways and their hiding places and their and the ways, and their protection, the way that they have defenses up, and we go after them, and then we follow the leaders that have the latest battle plans and the latest intel from God and words of knowledge, and then we go, and then we collect those victories, and we get all jacked up, and it's very emotionally like intoxicating, and we feel the rewards. And it's an awesome, and listen, I'm not anti, I know it probably sounds like I'm anti spiritual warfare. No, I know spiritual warfare exists. I know that there are spiritual realms that are not for the kingdom of God. But when what you focus on, you give power to. And a lot of people focus on the enemy over and over and over again, and they don't focus on the kingdom of God and the goodness of God and the love of God, and they become distracted. They miss their actual purpose and their identity, and their focus is scattered. We need to be careful, because you can find a demon around every rock, and you can find leaders that will go after it with you. And we also do this same sort of battle plan when it comes to relationships, because it's easier to divide people and separate from people than it is to build a relationship. And that's what happened here in the Promised Land. They were like, at some level, they were like, well, we can't relationally win them all over to the kingdom, but we could kill them all. No, that's way too simple. But in a broad brush, yeah, it takes work to build something, to work out the relationship. And, we use words like, well, we're going to take back the land. We're going to take back what was stolen. We're going to, what belongs to us has been occupied by the enemy. We're going to do battle. We're going to, march around the walls. We're going to call it down. We're going to blow the trumpets, and then we're going to march in there and burn it all down. I don't know. We have to be careful, because when we use the enemy's tools, like kill, steal, and destroy, the enemy is who gets stronger, not the kingdom of God. The enemy gets stronger when we use shame, guilt, and manipulation, because those are his tools. And we put that into the atmosphere, and he feeds off of it. And the kingdom of God is lost. And then we get addicted to using the tools of the enemy. We get good at it. And he gives us, we get victories, and we think, oh, this is amazing. If I just get more manipulative and more filling people with shame and guilt, if I destroy more relationships, if I separate more, if I become higher on the pyramid, like all those things get woven in to a horrible battle plan. And then the enemy is all a part of our lives. And the one that we promised to follow, we've walked away from. And at some level, that's what we're seeing here in the book of Judges. And we will go through more things to learn from the book of Judges. I didn't mean to get too, did I get too heavy? Bob's like, you're going to have to fix this on Bob Thoughts. I agree. All right. Anyways, thank you guys for showing up and being here. We appreciate you as always on the Epic Narrative. We'll see you again next week.
Don't go anywhere. We've got Bob Thoughts.
Hey everyone, here's some thoughts for today. Wanted to tell you we put our ad into the Writers Society magazine. It's called The Journal. It's for writers, but it's grace-filled writers, and of course we at the Epic Narrative are incredibly grace-filled. So I wanted to let you know we did that, and also just thank those of you that give, that help us do this. We had a really amazing October. We had done as you know, we did a advertisement in a conference called Rethinking God with Tacos. We did that in late September. October was our best month ever. So I just took some of the money that you guys have given and invested it into this other medium that goes out. I think it goes out every other month, and they're going to run it for us. So we appreciate that. We did some advertising on another podcast, the Rethinking God with Tacos podcast. They ran that for a few weeks for us. Appreciated those of you, that support that podcast, which is amazing. Different format for sure, but an amazing podcast. And I just want you to know, like, if you give, we use it. And I appreciate those of you that gave. Our goal, we're far away from our goal of $5,000 this year, but I appreciate those of you that can give. And if you can give, we take it. I take it via Apple Pay, which is honestly the way most people give to the ministry, the podcast. Not really a ministry. It is a ministry. It's a ministry podcast. But we also take Zelle, and I have a PayPal account that you can also access. Not a nonprofit, so you can claim it if you want, but I can't back you up. And I guess that's all. I mean, I hope you appreciated today's episode. I did not listen to it before I did this thought. I just wanted to get out to you that we are trying to advertise, trying to pick up some more listeners. And I'm also really considering doing a retreat. We have enough consistent listeners that I think we could put together a pretty fun little group of people to hang out. I think I'd call it the Epic Conversation. We'll call it Epicon. That's what we'll do. All right, maybe not. Anyways, I'm thinking about it. Just want to let you know what my thoughts were, and I hope you guys are having a great day. I will connect with you next week on The Epic Narrative.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, you can subscribe to this podcast on any platform you use. You can also reach out to Bob for questions or booking at thebobswitzer.com or email him at thebobswitzer@gmail.com. See you next week, guys.